So, we're going to move on to our second speaker now, which is John Popham, and he's a social media surgeon, I believe. And John's going to tell us about how telling stories is the best way to inspire people to get online and what inspired him to get involved in the Hugo project. Thanks, John.
Thanks, Joe. I'm multitasking the extreme here because I'm live streaming the event and talking as well. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are you feeling? I love this event. It's just the sort of event I think we should be organising in terms of interactivity, and I hope you'll enjoy yourselves. And we've got some even better things planned later. Anyway, so good morning. I've been asked to talk a little bit about digital storytelling and my approach to engaging people through telling stories, because one of the things that I think that people think is that all this technology is all very geeky, isn't it? But actually what it is, it's a communication mechanism. And it allows us to tell stories. And stories are what are important to us, and they've been important to us throughout history. So, I said to Joe to just shut me up at some point, because this is the thing I normally do is a day-long workshop, and I've tried to condense it into 20 minutes. I probably failed, I think. Anyway, I'm going to show you a video to start off with. This is a video of a friend of mine called Emma Sutton. Some of you might know her. And I show this video when I'm doing workshops because it's a wonderful example of storytelling. Hopefully it's going to work. We've had a few technical problems this morning. I'm hoping this works.
Right, we're going to move on to our last presenter of this second half. We've had Emma on before, I know that Emma has presented before, so I'm going to hand you over to the capable hands of Emma Sutton. Give it up, come on!
Yep. So tonight I'm going to tell you about an arranged friendship, and it was arranged by a charity. And I decided about 10 years ago that I wanted to do something that wasn't just about me. And I decided to volunteer. And they arranged for me to help someone who wanted help. And I did it because I wanted to feel good about myself, so it was totally selfish. But this is the story of the journey that I went on. And I was befriended a woman called Claire, who wanted to go to the cinema and who didn't drive, and I did. And this was the very first film we went to see, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. And she laughed, and I laughed, and she laughed because I laughed, and I laughed because she laughed, and I thought, this is brilliant. It's kind of not what I thought volunteering would be like. But it turned into a kind of match made in heaven. Claire got to go to the cinema, I got to feel good because I was doing something for other than me, and my husband never had to see another romantic comedy again in his life. Ka-ching. So it was going really well, we've been doing it for years, and it was kind of clear that Claire was a very different person. She's like unlike anybody I'd ever met, and it was really refreshing. So it became about more than just going to the cinema. She saw the world through different eyes, and I got to see the world through her eyes. And it was really nice to kind of see it through a different. I was caught up in the corporate world, and she so wasn't. And she did. If she loved to do things, she did it, and she loved to sing. So when a film came on that had music in, she sang out loud in the cinema, whether it was a sing-along version or not. And after I got over how uncomfortable that made me feel, I thought, isn't that brilliant? And she cared. She cared deeply about things. And there is a spoiler alert coming up here. We went to see one of the Narnia films, and there's Aslan lying on the slab, sacrificed. And because I'm a softie, a tear rolled down my cheek. And she patted my leg, and she said, at about this volume, he's not dead! She'd seen it on Saturday. I couldn't help but laugh. She didn't know that you could have too much of something that you love. And I didn't know until I met her that I kind of thought I did. So if she loved something, she wanted a lot of it. And she loved pink, head to toe. Hairband, nails, everything, head to toe in pink. And I thought, well, why not? If you love it, why don't we have as much as we want of it? And mostly, this didn't cause us any trouble at all. So there's one thing at cinema, and it's called Pick and Mix. Claire loved sweets. You can imagine how much that cost. But she was also amazing for lots of other reasons. She didn't understand the mask we all hide behind. She didn't understand that you shouldn't show emotion, that you should just put the I'm fine face on. She was sad, she cried. If she was happy, she laughed, and if I picked a film she hated, boy did I hear about it. The one time she told me I was her best friend, it touched me here, in a way that I can't remember somebody saying something so simple affected me. She was honest. She wasn't saying it for any other reason other than that's how she felt. And mostly we laughed at everything. She became Queen Claire because we saw a film with Queen Latifah in, and she went, "Why is she called Queen?" I went, "Would you like to?" She went, "Yeah." And I wish I'd known this earlier. I wish I'd known it when she could be here in the audience, because Claire died last year. She got pneumonia. And I didn't know until that happened that I stopped volunteering and I started loving her. She was one of the most amazing people I've ever met in my whole life. And I cherish the moments I had with her. I'm proud to call her my friend. And I did this because I want you to get to know people. If you ever think of volunteering, it's not about volunteering, it will change and enrich your life in a way you cannot even imagine. If you ever see someone with Down syndrome, don't look with your eyes, look with your heart. Because inside that person is a diamond in disguise. I took Claire to the cinema. She gave me so much more.
So hopefully that illustrates my point about the importance of storytelling. And actually, I'm sorry, I should have given you the trigger warning, which I normally give, is that I think I've got inured to it now, because I've seen that video so many times, but about the first 20 times or so, it made me cry. And I think that's the thing about storytelling, is it gets to your emotions. And I also show that to voluntary organisations quite a lot, because one thing I say is, when I talk to voluntary organisations, I think most voluntary organisations are quite good at selling the benefits of volunteering in terms of the good it does. In terms of, and you saw that, Emma was quite eloquent in explaining the good that she did to Claire. But the story, I think, that is possibly even more important to that than that is the good it did to her as a person, to Emma. And I think organisations are not always good at sort of tapping into the self-interest that people have, and they do good things, and the way it makes them feel. So that's why I think it's very important to tell those stories about the personal impact that these things have. So why do I think the stories are so important? I think if you look through our culture, things are changing now. People are watching a lot less television these days, but television is still the dominant form in our culture to an extent. I was talking to some younger people the other day, and I think by and large, younger people are not watching very much television these days. I think they're not watching live television, but still, TV programs like these get incredibly large audiences. And if I had an unlimited budget and I wanted to get a message out to a very wide constituency, I'd take out an advert in the Coronation Street. That's where you get your big audiences. And why are these things so popular? They're popular because they are stories. They are telling stories. We can quibble about the quality of those stories, but they are stories. They're stories that appeal to ordinary people. They are about characters that ordinary people are supposed to identify with. And that's why they're so popular. And also, another of our dominant cultural influences at the moment, which is another one that I really hate, is the X Factor. Now, the thing about the X Factor is people think that the X Factor is a singing competition. It's not. I've given a listen to people who come out of the X Factor. Most of them can't sing. How many actual genuine singers with sustained careers come out of the X Factor? Not very many, but they're not that good. Because the thing about the X Factor is it's not a singing competition, it's a storytelling vehicle. And what it does is it tells the stories about the people who are in that competition. That's why they all have a backstory. The tabloids are full of things about them. They all have some big problem in their lives that they overcome to get to the stage where they are successful in the X Factor. It's about telling stories. And the reason why people think that people who come to X Factor are so wonderful is that they buy into that story. They come on there, so just like today, we've got the teams on our tables. People buy into being the team for that particular contestant on the programme. And they desperately want that person to win. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter whether they can sing or not. It's the emotions that people feel about buying into their story that matter. And if you look at, it gets even worse. I don't know if you've ever seen this programme, but, pretty horrible. It's celebrities chucking themselves off diving boards. But the thing is, it's a formula. And the TV companies have hit on a formula that they don't care exactly what they're doing, and there are all sorts of things on TV these days, all sorts of competitions of one kind or another, and it doesn't really matter what they're doing, because it's all about the story, it's all about the challenge that they overcome. And if you look into our culture, particularly Western European culture, or particularly British culture in this respect, we have always valued storytellers. So, Geoffrey Chaucer, William Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, 3 examples from British history of storytellers that have endured to this day. And people think that these people are high culture because we study them in universities these days. But actually, at their time, they were the popular culture of their day. They were the Coronation Street and the X Factor of their day. People used to pay a penny to get into Shakespeare's plays, and they would shout and scream on the stage, and they would throw things. It was popular culture. Charles Dickens' novels were originally published in monthly magazines. That's why every chapter ends on a cliffhanger, because people, the idea was to put people into buying the next edition of that magazine because they wanted to see how the story ended. So, storytelling is really important to us. And the thing is, these days, we are getting increasingly the tools in our own pockets. Things like this, things like, we still call this a phone, but actually it's a pocket computer. And I think there was a survey came out recently that said the 5th most popular activity on a smartphone is making telephone calls. There are 4 more important things that people do with a smartphone than making telephone calls. It's a computer. But it can do all sorts of things that can enable you to tell stories. It can shoot video. Most smartphones these days will shoot pretty high quality video. Well, people don't know that. One reason they don't know that is because they shoot it that way up. And that's when you get those long thin videos. Horrible. If you shoot it that way up, it will shoot perfectly good, very good quality video. Please shoot the video that way, not that way. The thing is, this is the digital storytelling tool. I can tweet from it, I can use Facebook, I can use all sorts of social media, and I can broadcast video and audio. I'm broadcasting live video now from that device there, which is basically a phone with a camera attached to it. So anyway, storytelling. Star Wars, put your hands up if you've never seen Star Wars. Not many of us. Well, quite a few. I've never seen Star Wars, but what I'm told is that Star Wars is the classic story. Now, I normally spend about an hour going through this, and I'm not going to spend an hour going through this today. But this is something called the hero's journey. This is the classic storytelling methodology which most Hollywood scripts use. And if you want to have a quick look at that, it's about the process where they start off living an ordinary everyday life, everybody can identify with, and then something happens to them which throws their life into turmoil, and they have to do something about it. And so they end up on some sort of journey or quest, which can be a literal journey or quest or a metaphorical one, and they have to overcome challenges. And those challenges make their lives better, and hopefully make other people's lives better, and they all live happily ever after. And you can see where X Factor comes from. People have to have a massive challenge. They have to get through this point where they have some sort of rebirth, because this is the point which they nearly give up, but eventually somebody encourages them to carry on. but it's all about storytelling. Those are the classic elements of storytelling. And we need to tell our stories in these formats. So, and also, again, just very quickly, I'm just talking about some of the tools that we use to tell stories, but I actually think that the digital tools we have are sort of gradually equalising the position in society. It used to be that you had to be very wealthy or a government or a big corporation to have a broadcasting tool. A newspaper, a TV studio, or a cinema studio. You used to have those things, which cost huge amounts of money to get your message out there. These days, these things can tell our stories, can tell our messages. We need to use those. In society, when we all lived in villages, we knew each other, we interacted with each other on a day-to-day basis. Society became a lot more depersonalised. I think social media is repersonalising society. We get to know people much better using social media. And the other thing is, the way we used to do business in society was we used to barter, we used to trade with each other, and then that all dispersed and it went much more money-based. I think gradually the internet is allowing us to reintroduce a more natural way of working, a more sort of mutual exchange, bartering type system. We can use the internet for all these sorts of things. And it's actually, when people say that technology is depersonalising us, I actually believe it's the opposite. I think it's repersonalising us. It's giving us new ways of interacting with people that previously weren't available to us. So, if we're going to tell our stories, let's use the tools that are out there. I said use your phone or any other device you've got to shoot video, and stick it on YouTube. YouTube is, the search box on YouTube is the second most used search engine in the world. The most used search engine in the world is Google. Google owns YouTube, so Google owns the two most used search engines in the world. So if you've got video, stick it on YouTube. The thing about YouTube is it'll give you a little bit of code that you can use to embed that video in your website, your blog, or anywhere else you want to put it. But please always put your videos on YouTube because that's how people come across them by accident. Serendipity is a really good thing. The other thing I think is we forget audio. Audio is a very powerful tool. I love the radio. I love Radio 4 mainly. But, I think we become obsessed with being a visual culture, with being a visual medium. But actually, audio is a very powerful tool. But one of the things audio does is it gets around that thing that I come across all the time, which is people who are camera shy, who don't like having cameras pointed at them. I'm one of those people, that's why I normally stand behind the camera. But lots of people don't like cameras pointing at them, and that means their stories don't get told. So I would always recommend, if you can't use video, use audio, because audio can be a very powerful tool. And there are tools out there like Audio Glue, which is a bit like the YouTube of audio, which can allow you to do that. You can use it on your phone, it'll upload instantly to the internet, and you can get 5 minutes of free audio very easily that way. Blogging is a wonderful thing. Blogging can allow you to tell your story in long form. It's amazing how you can engage people by telling stories and blogging. Blogs are like your online diary. We're going to be doing some blogging later, aren't we? Live blogging. Sorry. But anyway, blogging is a wonderful tool. It allows you to tell your story. And just a very quick story. I'm sure I've got the slide. Has anybody heard of Never Seconds? Never Seconds. Never Seconds was a blog where a 9-year-old girl in Argyll in Scotland set up as part of a class project. And she started blogging about her school dinners, posting photos of her school dinners. And it started to get some publicity because people were quite frankly shocked and appalled at the quality of the school dinners. And what happened was the local authority sent somebody into the school to drag her out of class and say, stop doing this. Because you're bringing this into disrepute. So then the national media picked that up and said, what's this local project got to hide about the local school dinners? And then the dad went on the blog and said, sorry, we're talking to stop this, and that caused a real outcry. So, that got an awful lot of publicity. But one of the side effects of all that was she had a fundraising thing on her blog, which raised money for an organisation called Mary's Meals, which builds school kitchens in Africa. And she raised a few £1,000 at that point. When the publicity hit, that went up to about £250,000, and it's still going up. And if you look at her blog now, her and her dad have written a book about the experience. They've been touring around Africa, handing over checks and helping people build their kitchens. And The last time I looked at her blog, the front page, I think it's her and Jamie Oliver. But she's got a fantastic amount of publicity. People say to me these tools are peripheral, and they don't really do a lot. Actually, a 9-year-old girl has spent thousands of children as a result of having a blog. So, how long have I got?
As long as you want.
How long have I really? I'm going to show you another video, and then I'll tell you why. This one's only a minute and a half. I'll show you another video, and I'll tell you why I'm showing you. Some of you may want to see this.
On the internet, Stephen Fry tweeted about it and thousands logged on to watch it. Stuart Pollitt reports.
Yes. From the village green to your computer screen. In this game, they're counting the runs and keeping a close eye on the hits.
2,350 jumpers. 3 days after I had the idea, Stephen Fry kindly tweeted about it, which sent the whole thing mad. I've had people from America saying how pleased they are to be able to watch this traditional English pastime. There's people in Australia watching it in the middle of the night. We've got people from all over the world looking in on this little corner of England.
The idea was designed to prove what can be done with fast rural broadband.
I think Ray is one of only 3 villages in the country I know of which has got a fast enough internet connection to do this sort of stuff. So let's come here and let's test it.
Oh, well batted. And it's 4 runs.
And it's 4 runs to John Whitfield.
Well done.
That takes us to 11 for North.
Commentary to the world came from Brenda.
You broadcast to the world, but you're not entirely
I am
sober.
entirely sober. No, it takes more than 1 pint to make. Oh, yes, that's my friends here. More
What
than
are we
1
talking?
pint.
We do double figures before you take her off air, or
We take her off air after 6.
6,
six? Right, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, there's still a way to go.
No.
It's all about a community event and friends having a good day out together and a bit of fun.
I think, a few of you thought, well, if it's not just me grand watching, I better be out there, so...
The technology was at the cutting edge, but the same can't be said about some of the cricket. Stuart Pollitt, BBC North West Tonight, Ray.
Okay, so the reason why I show you that is to illustrate some of my philosophy, really. Because I believe this technology is fun. And I think sometimes the way we try to get across and try to introduce people to it is all a bit hopeless. And it's like, who is going to go into an IT centre and say, I'm going to sign up for Universal Credit, I want to use a computer for the first time? Nobody is going to do that. So, and the rest of us are all out there having fun with this stuff. So I think we need to show people who've never used the internet before that all the fun they're missing out. And that's my approach to these things. That's why with the Hugo project, we're going to take it out to people and we're going to have fun doing it and we're going to make sure they have fun getting online. I did that as an illustration of the problems of rural broadband in this country. It wasn't a seminar, it wasn't a workshop. People tuned in to watch a cricket match. It was fun. They liked it, and it gained an awful lot of publicity. I ended up on Radio New Zealand talking about that. So it went all around the world. And Brenda became an internet phenomenon. She became a superstar. And she was somebody who'd never used the internet before then. And now she's always on Skype talking to her friends all around the world. And those guys who were interviewed there, you saw they were farmers. And they thought technology hadn't got a lot to offer them. But then people started contacting them from America and Australia and all sorts of places saying, we saw you playing cricket on the internet. And it sort of opened their eyes to possibilities. So in Hugo, we're going to have fun. We're going to help people to tell their stories. But there's so much negativity out there through the mainstream media, we want people to tell their positive stories. And we're going to help that through this project and through all the work we're doing. So what I'm saying is, hopefully we're having fun today. It's a fun event. And we should carry on having fun because the internet is